Hey everybody, welcome back to our big thoughts on small islands on Ready Steady Play. I'm Mike, he's Chris. We just got through playing a Thailand game.
I just liked that intro, it's good. Yeah, no notes.
We're going to talk about it because it's getting a reprint. We just looked it up to see if we could buy it, and we can't because the Mushroom Games reprint is out of stock, more or less. There are a few copies around at a slightly inflated price, but Lucky Duck Games are reprinting it, so you'll be able to get a copy soon.
Q4 2021, I believe, is when it's meant to be due, which is now. So definitely by the new year, I would have thought it'd be available to purchase. Mm-hmm. And it's also available to play on Board Game Arena.
That's true. So if you have watched the playthrough and you liked what you saw, or you're coming here to find out whether we liked it and you think you should check it out, then you can play it for free.
Yes, it is. Don't even need a premium account. Premium account in Board Game Arena is about £25 a year, but you don't even need that. You can try it completely for free online. Check it out before you buy. Recommended retail price is £33.99. You can probably get it if you shop around. Probably get it for around £30 from your brick and mortar for any local gaming store or online stores as well.
Well, there you go.
Oh.
So this is it says 30 minutes on the box. I think you can play it for longer or probably quicker. It really depends on how much thinking you want to do.
Yeah, we took about an hour of actual play and about half an hour of faff as well, which is very long for what this is. I have played this in 30 minutes with Deborah. Mm-hmm. Maybe 40.
But what it is it's a competitive tile placement game. It's 1 to 4 players, and we played it 2-player. I think you've only played it 2-player,
yes,
as have I. So it does say excellent at 2 players on the box. Yes. I can concur. It is good at 2 players, or functions well at 2 players.
You don't feel like you're missing anything, and that's the most important thing, I think, about a multiplayer game working at 2.
Yeah.
I just don't want to feel like I'm missing out on something that is present in the 3 or 4 player game.
Well, I will comment on that a bit more in a minute because I do have a thought on it. But what you can see here is that we are building onto the same board, and what we're essentially doing is using these 2 decks of cards that you see over there to set ourselves up with scoring conditions each round. And then during the round, we're building a map out of tiles, and at the end of each round, we will be able to put out the houses onto the board to score points based on the criteria we set up at the beginning of the round. And there's a little bit more to it than that, but that's basically it. There's 4 rounds, and at the end of round 4, whoever's collected the most points is the winner.
Simples.
Very simple, yeah. There's only 2 tile edge types, so it's land or sea. So there is blocking potential, but it's not super strict.
The tile placement's definitely not super strict. As I say, it's only land and sea, but there's definitely blocking potential.
Yes. There is definitely blocking potential.
Despite the simplicity of the tiles, there is a huge amount of blocking potential. Which I imagine will only get worse in a 4-player game.
Yes, and so that's what I was going to say. I feel like, this is an instinct though, because we haven't played it with more, but I feel like at the 2-player game, particularly the one we just played, so Chris and I did play a bit of a longer game, we were putting quite a lot of thought into it, and I think as a result we got quite good scores, and the game also rewarded, I think, our extra sort of cognitive attention, we put more thought into it, I think we got more points out of it. I do think that that's a element that's probably going to be more unique to the 2-player game, because I think in the 3 and the 4-player game, the rounds will probably end more quickly and you'll have a lot less control over what comes out.
Yeah, it's inevitably going to be a duel in a 2-player game, right? You know that the only person you're potentially affecting positively and negatively is that one opponent you have. Also, it's always 6 tiles on the exploration deck.
Always 6.
Always 6, yeah. So you're only guaranteed to get to place 1 tile if you're 4th player in a round.
Well, what this means is essentially we'll each place 3 tiles every round at least. But in a 4-player game, yeah, you might only get to play 1 tile.
Yeah, but it's unlikely to happen more than once, because every player can only end 1 round in a 4-player game. Mm-hmm. And it seems unlikely that in 2 of the rounds a player would immediately want to end it super quickly.
Well, what's interesting is what you're sort of doing here is you're trying to build the islands so that you can put your little houses on them to meet the scoring condition you've set out for that round. So you're caught in this decision space where you want to make sure you get the islands right so you can score the most points for them, but you don't want to give your opponents time to do the same thing. You know, and you're also sort of trying to think about what they might have been doing, what they might be trying to doing, but that's very difficult to predict.
Yeah, as we're picking one, as we're trying to work out like what symbols you want on the island, I find that next to impossible to work out.
Yeah, that's next to impossible to work. I think so too. But what I think you'll find in a game with a game of this with more players is that because everyone's sort of focusing a bit more on what they're doing, even though the round could end potentially quicker, it'll actually probably be a bit longer than it is in a 2-player game because we have a lot more control over what we're doing. We can actually get into a place where we can score a reasonable amount of points quite a lot quicker.
Yeah, I think they'll be rough. I don't think it'll be much longer with more players though. 'Cause I do think they'll, because the same number of tiles, it's the same amount of time, same amount of turns until the rounds are eligible to be ended.
Yes.
Right. So I think they'll take. I think overall the game will actually not be massively increased in length by number of players. You're just enjoying filling the tiles in now.
I wanted to finish this. I think you're right. I think that it won't be massively increased by the number of players. Oh no, there isn't the right one left.
So it has pleasing tile laying. Anyone who enjoys tile laying will enjoy the tile laying aspect. And I actually think the simplicity of the tile laying, the fact that it is just just land and sea, is enjoyable. Is nice. It's fun. It's pleasing to do. As I said, Deborah loves tile laying. That's one of the reasons I wanted to play this. And she thoroughly enjoyed the tile laying aspect of it. What do you think of the scoring system?
That looks really fucking weird.
It's great. I like that one. That's great.
So I think the thing is like I think that I really like tile laying games where it's sort of competitive. There's a bit of space for blocking. There's a bit of sort of there's a lot of sort of tricky decisions. I like that. I particularly like in the 2-player game that you've got to sort of choose when to end the round. I really like the idea of a 3-player game where one person's going to get to end 2 rounds. And so everyone's like, oh, who's going to take the ship first, And it's like... And what I do also like that in this game, I placed my red ship in the second round, and Chris placed his ship in the final round. And I think there are definitely benefits to placing your ship earlier. As you can see, Chris got 3 points for his and I got 9 for mine, which is actually most of the lead I had on you in the end.
It's the vast majority of it. But I got ultimate control of that last round, which I found very useful too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's nicely sort of balanced out. So I think the most sort of unique element of this game for sure is this scoring mechanism here. And the way this works is that you've got these reward cards and objective cards, and you're going to get 3 at the beginning of each round. You're going to select a pair to put together in front of you, a pair to discard, and a pair to keep for next round. So you can plan ahead if you find you have the means to do so. But you'll see that one side is on the objective card. This is a criteria the island must meet. So in this case, I can only play to islands with 2 temple symbols on them. And then the right side is the points I'm going to get for that island. So in this case, 1 point for the most common resource on the island, plus an additional 2 points added to that value. And you can place up to 4 houses in each scoring phase, provided that you meet the objective card and you don't already have a house on that island. So it's only ever 1 house per island. You also only get 8 houses in total, so if you play 8 in the first 2 rounds, then you have no scoring left for the rest of the game.
I guess you're just blocking and trying to get ports, I guess, in that point.
Which would probably not a good tactical decision, but far be it from me to figure out all the possible strategies in this so far. But
also, if you get enough points for them, if you get 10 points for each of those houses, then
80 points.
Then it doesn't matter when you do it.
Score, yeah,
it doesn't matter when you do it. I actually don't think there's any downside. There's no downside to doing all your houses really early, as long as you're getting good points for them.
Yeah, I mean, 10 points per house is great.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Huge.
This little mechanism here is definitely something that's a bit unique and a bit special, and I think that if you like the idea of this, then I think this will be something that interests you, and if you don't like the idea of this, then that's probably a deal breaker.
Oh yeah, 100%. Your enjoyment of the game is made of not your overall, not all of the enjoyment, but whether or not you will enjoy it fundamentally or not is whether or not you like that idea.
Yeah, there is a set of prepared cards. So what you can do is you can sub out this matching game here with a set of these cards here, which show already combined objectives and scoring. So you can see here on these cards they've got pairs already made up, and these pairs are quite a nice pair. So I think if you want to play with a younger crowd maybe, or people who are less familiar with games, you want to play with a lighter crowd, this makes it a bit more accessible. And then this is actually called the advanced variant, but I think anyone who's sort of a board gamer or a hobbyist or more familiar with the hobby would probably find this very manageable.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I guess if that's something if you really don't like the just how variable those objectives can be and those missions can be, this would also help to mitigate that to some extent, I suppose. Because it guarantees everyone's going to get logical matches without having to work for it.
And I mean, just in case it was unclear, these are hidden throughout the whole round, so nobody knows what you're trying to score. But despite that, I think there is still certainly a reasonable amount of urgency to the round and a sense of sort of timing. Like, I think, but it's more like the inverse of this planning, where the longer you take to achieve what you want, the more paranoid you get your opponent's doing better, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because if you decide to not end the round, like every time I decided not to end the round that last time, it was also giving you an extra turn to accomplish your goals.
Yeah, and because you don't know what your opponent's goals are, and there's very little way, particularly towards the end, the later rounds where the map is so large, there's very little way to actually predict what the other people are doing. Then you do get into that position where you're kind of like the tension is building. But the other thing is that there are some sort of commonplace little strategies you can pick up on, like if your opponent has like no islands they can play on because they played a bunch of houses in the previous round, or if there's only one if there's an island with only one foundation on it, although that didn't really come up here.
Give it a practice round.
Yeah,
but, I think with more players that's more likely to happen, right? You're more likely to get frozen out of an island. With more players.
Yeah, absolutely, because they might all take up the spots.
Yeah, like this one only has 2, for example, or this one only has 1. Well, they could obviously extend them.
Being the 4th player to score would be really tough.
Yeah. I think the game will be different with different player counts. As you were saying, only one person gets to play to end 2 rounds, 3 players, for example. But I think every player count probably still feels and 2 player indeed definitely does feel like a full experience, which I appreciate. I think the best thing about this game, I think, is choice. The fact that you get so much choice and everything. So from the tile laying aspect, for example, you're not just taking one of those 3 tiles every time and placing it. You're taking one of 3 tiles and adding it to your hand, so that you've got now 3 tiles in your hand, and then you play one of those. So you actually, every single time you are to play a tile, you're actually technically choosing from 5, right? You got 3 there you could play it, and 2 here you could play. So that's a lot of choice. Carcassonne is probably the best known tile layer I can think of, and in that you just take one and you gotta place it. All the choice is coming from, do you place a meat, where you place it, and then do you place a meeple or not. Whereas here you're getting a lot more choice as to what tile you place before you ever think about where you're placing it.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've already before you even start placing tiles, you've already chosen your mission card of what's going to let you place houses, and your rewards cards, how you're gonna score for those houses. So it's a lot of choice, an enormous amount of choice, and I think that's what makes this game fun.
Yeah, and it moves along at a fairly clip pace as well, I think, like, because the we were doing some dramatic reveals and stuff on camera, but I think if you were playing this on your ownsies, the score would, normally, the scoring would happen very, very quickly, and even though we were actually putting a lot of thought into it, it didn't feel like there was any downtime or anything like that, really.
No.
So it moves along at a really good pace, and it's reasonably short, and I think it would. I think it's quite accessible as well. Although, there is potential here to be mean.
We saw it.
Which I demonstrated for the education of the people at home, of course. So I think if which is nice because it means there is some degree of interaction.
Yeah, there's
right?
meaningful player interaction because we're tiling onto the same area.
Yeah,
and I think that's important. I like some meaningful player interaction.
but it's definitely not overly mean because, as we said before, you can't really predict what other people are trying to do. And if the scoring was like face up, then it would be very mean.
I mean, yeah,
it could be potentially impossible to score.
I had 2 leftover tokens. I could have placed those towards the end, just try and mess you up. I might have ended up helping you. So it's not worth it, really.
Yeah, so you really have to pursue your own interests in that regard. But I did enjoy just placing tiles to stop you putting your boat anywhere good. that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and obviously, but there's the option. Obviously, if you're playing in a family setting, with the kids or anything, you don't have to be that mean.
Yeah,
obviously.
Well, quite.
But the fact that it's there, I think, is actually quite a positive addition for maybe more experienced and hobbyist gamers. I think hobbyist gamers can get something out of this. And
I think I'd happily play it again. I'd happily play it at 2. I'd definitely like to try it at 3 or 4.
Yeah, I actually really like to play at 3 or 4. I've played it. This is now my 3rd game of it, and I'm still really enjoying it. I'm still seeing objective cards I haven't seen before. I've lost twice and won once now. I definitely want to play it again, and I'll definitely crack this out next time my parents are over and try it at 4-player. Because I am interested in seeing it, and I keep meaning to play on BGA, but usually on BGA there's 5 or 6 of us, and it goes up to 4. But next time I have 4 people on BGA, I'm going to play this as well. Give it a go. But yeah, no, I really like it. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, maybe I'll try and get a 3-player game going on BGA as well and see how that tension over the background works out.
But yeah, it's quite an easy. It's very inoffensive. Doesn't do anything wrong, and it's got some nice positives to it. So it's kind of an easy recommendation, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's a super easy teach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to try the solo mode as well, actually, and see what that's like.
I'm afraid I know nothing about that. I have not read that. I'm not a solo board gamer, so I just didn't read it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I've largely adopted solo board gaming during the pandemic, and now I'm sort of doing a bit more of it. So I'd be sort of intrigued to have a look at that, and maybe I'll do a short live stream of it sometime.
That'd be cool. I'll check it out.
But I mean, I think the one drawback of this really that sort of prevents me from giving it a resounding recommendation is the price point is a little higher than I would expect for something of this type. Because I think that Lucky Duck are selling it at Essen for €35.
Which is £30, which makes sense, yeah.
Which is, I think, on the higher end. It's almost like the lower price you'd pay for a bigger box game, not, whereas this, I think, feels somewhere in between like a £20 game and like a £40 game.
Well, I was about to say, I think it's £30. I think 25 would probably be a really sweet spot.
Yeah.
I think at 25 it would be absolutely bang on.
Yeah.
But I've mentioned this before, certainly to you, if not on a video recently, that I think production's getting more expensive. And that is true. That is a sad reality. Everything from cardboard, the cost of materials to print the game, to the cost of shipping. Yeah. Just to the cost of running a business with COVID.
Everything's getting more expensive.
So you have to, that needs to be taken into consideration before you bang the hammer saying that board game publishers are charging too much money. Yeah,
there's definitely an adjustment period right now, and things are in flux. So, so I think that.
But even at 30, like I said, it's $33.99 recommended retail price. I would personally like to find this for $25 if I was to buy a copy to gift to somebody. Because I would definitely gift this to my nieces potentially. But I'd like to find it for $25 at that point for that, I think. And yet at the same time, I would say I do think it is worth the £30 asking price, considering the fact that it is more, that production costs have gone up. And also you can try free on BGA and find out if you like it. If you like it, I think it's worth the £30. If you like.
Well, it's because it's accessible. It's easy to get to the table, so you can probably get enough plays in to justify that. That's
the other thing, right? You'll get more. You spend £30 in this, and you play it 3 times with 4 people. That's £2.50 per play essentially. Or you can buy the £300 Kickstarter you play 1 time.
And that's £300 per play, because you probably played it so that you learn the rules. And he probably came away going, I don't know what half of these boxes are for.
But yeah, I like it. I enjoy it. I enjoyed playing it. I'm going to play it again.
Me too. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'll definitely play it again. I'd definitely like to see if it gets meaner with more players.
I don't need it to be any meaner than it was. It's not like Michael would hate you would try doing that. I think Michael actually quite liked this game.
Yeah, if we left his port alone.
If you left him alone. Yeah.
If I left his port... Well, I think the only real meanness was from the ports,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and I didn't feel too bad. I mean, like, it was perfectly reasonable. You knocked 2 points off of me. Well, if you...
And I also definitely stopped you from going up there, too.
You wrecked a really good one, too. Which is upsetting.
But, that's... but then, in the end, there was a 10 points difference, and I got... there's a 6 point difference in the ports, so... Like, a lot of my my lead came from exactly that. So.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this Final Thoughts, consider please subscribing to the channel, turning on your notifications so you don't miss the next series.
Like the video.
Yep. Put a thumbs up on the video because that helps us with the YouTube robots. We don't really know what they want or why they're here, but they have demands, and the demands are say things like bell, notification, comment, like. So these keywords make us... put us in the good graces of our robot overlords. And if you want to support the show in this kind of independent board gaming journalism, please consider checking out the Patreon for Ready Steady Play. It's linked on the page, and also it's just Ready Steady Play on Patreon. And you can have a say in the board games we play on the channel, and you can message me directly about anything that's on your mind.
Like, should he be less mean in games?
Should he play more horror video games?
Well, you don't play the horror video games. Michael does.
I participate.
What horror video game should Michael play next?
Should we continue to scare him with board game boxes? That might be coming up. Who knows? Don't miss it. Subscribe to the show.
See you next time, guys.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Roll those credits. Oh, these are for patrons, so it could be you.